Well, good morning, everyone. Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sal Maiorana, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Good morning, sir. How you doing today?
I am good. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night, long night, but back home and ready to talk about the new Highmark Stadium, which was the star of the show last night, Adam. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool to be there. You know, I've told you a million times I was there for the very first event at Old Rich Stadium, was there for the last event, and to be at the first event at the
Sure.
new stadium was nice. And it was yeah, like I said, I think that most of the people went there to see the stadium. It wasn't so much to watch a practice, and I think they were pretty impressed by the whole thing.
All right, so we're going to get into all of it, what happened on the field and what's happening around the field in that new stadium, a historic night in Buffalo and Western New York. This is a special edition of Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel. We invite you to jump on board here and hit us with your comments, questions about anything. What happened? What's going on with the team? A look ahead to the season, your reaction to the stadium itself. That's why we're doing this. Everyone's had the evening to kind of digest everything, and it's become reality. What's been talked about and focused on for so long is actual reality now. The look and the feel of it for so many people that were in there with the first actual event in that building. Do you have a similar reaction to it now that you've covered something there, Sal?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was in there twice. I did two tours, and the most recent one was in mid-June, and it was basically done. I mean, really almost nothing changed from that tour to what I saw last night. There's just been small details they've been working on behind the scenes. So to go in it and see basically the finished product, but then people in there, activity happening was really neat. It was a cool thing. Now I will tell you that, I mean, it's a beautiful, brand new, gorgeous stadium. But as someone, you did too for a long time, we travel everywhere. So, I mean, we've seen big, beautiful stadiums before. So I think for fans, it was probably wow. For me, it was like, okay, I mean, I've seen SoFi and Atlanta and Minnesota, which I hate to say it, those are still probably more spectacular than Highmark Stadium. They just are. They're just incredible places. Not putting Highmark down. It's a great place, but I've seen all this before. So I think for the fans who went in, you know, after going to Rich Stadium, New Era Field, Highmark Stadium, which was, let's face it, at the end, pretty antiquated and old. This had to be a pretty big wow moment for people to walk in and see the place.
You know, when it kind of hit me, or at least the aspect of what this place was going to be, was when we were in London several years ago. For the game against the Jaguars at Tottenham, right? And so much of the coverage when we went over for that week, and I'm sure you did the same thing, was this is what the Bills' new stadium is going to be modeled after. Right. So, like, my approach to the coverage for Channel 2 that week was, obviously there's game coverage, and that stands on its own no matter where the game is played. But it gave a really interesting angle. And that thing at Tottenham Hotspur is, you know, London is such a sprawl, obviously. It's in kind of a neighborhood, right? It sort of blends right in. It's a stark difference with this one versus what the experience is like in London when you pull up to. But when you get inside, I mean, you remember what that place was like at Tottenham. Absolutely beautiful. And I've been to so many of the new ones, SoFi, right? I mean, I love Minnesota, because it's got the roof with the glass on it and natural light comes in and it's a mix of everything. SoFi is probably the most spectacular of all the new ones that I've seen. But there was something about knowing going into that stadium in London that it was going to be very similar. So you could kind of envision it from the inside out, where this is what it's going to be on the inside. And then obviously there'd be the familiar surroundings of Orchard Park in Western New York, right, on the outside. But there was an intimacy to it. I mean, beautiful, rich, finished, appointed, all of that. But there was sort of an intimacy to it in terms of the sight lines, the bowl, the canopy, which plays a significant role, and people got a chance to experience that with the rain last night.
Oh, they sure did.
As well. So, I mean, there was a real sense when I came back from that trip, and they lost that game to the Jaguars. That was the game that Milano and I think Daquan Jones got hurt. But when we came back, I had a really good sense of what this new place was likely going to be like. You were on that trip as well, right? What were your impressions then, and how does this one compare to that now
Yeah, I mean,
given what they envisioned.
We saw that place, and they kept telling us that, I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same, but we like the way this stadium was built. We're going to try to incorporate this back in Orchard Park, and they did. It's Highmark Stadium is unique. It's not Tottenham Hotspur. It is a unique stadium. But what I really like about this place, Adam, is all the detail that went into it. I really like the color scheme inside the blue and red mixture of seats.
Yeah,
it really works well. I love the way when you walk in and it's empty, it looks really cool. And then when you start seeing people fill in, I would estimate last night, and I could be, Joe Brady said the figure of 50,000. He was probably given that by one of the Bills PR people that they were told, whatever. I don't know if 50,000 people were there, because throughout the night, as you're looking around, I would say it was about half full. And I say that because I think a lot of people probably didn't care about the practice and were just walking around the concourses, checking things out. Many people were probably in the luxury area. So the in bowl was probably about half full most of the night. But you can't tell that it's half full because of the color scheme of the seats. It looks fuller than it was. So obviously regular season games, that won't matter. It's going to be full. But it was cool that you look around and you're like, hey, it looks fuller than it actually is. You look close and you see, oh, that's a red seat or a blue seat. That's not a person. But I like that aspect of it. Now, as far as the canopy, so here's the thing. It poured. I mean, it came in about halfway through.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, Adam, the entire lower bowl gone. Those people scurried up to the concourses. So nobody in the lower bowl with the best seats are covered by the rain. There's no way. Upper deck, and I saw an interesting thing this morning. Kevin O'Neill, meteorologist.
Yep.
He put out a thing. He had a picture of the rain last night, and he said he picked his seats on, I forget what side of the stadium was, but knowing the wind pattern of Orchard Park, as he does as a meteorologist, he knew the wind typically blows from the south to southwest. Right. So he picked a seat where the wind would be coming from behind him, so the canopy would cover him. Sure enough, on our side, the press box side, I looked down, and a lot of the upper deck was still people sitting there. The far side, the lower half of the upper deck, people were gone. So he had an advantage knowing the wind pattern, but that's what I noticed. It comes in like from behind the press box, and the people on the other side, you're not going to be protected if it comes in on an angle. If it's coming straight down, which let's face it, in Buffalo, does it ever come straight down? No,
rarely ever.
Never comes straight down. If it came straight down, then I would buy their 60% canopy coverage, but not if it's coming in at an angle. So that was the only downer of the night. It poured. I mean, the place was soaked. And it lasted for a good 30 minutes. It wasn't like a quick little, it rained for a good while. Now here's a cool thing. Went down to the field with about 15 minutes to go on the practice because I was working upstairs. Jay Skursky and I walked down, and they're finishing practice at the far end. And he and there was a security guard there, but I said, hey, you mind if and he goes, sure. So we walked into the end zone. Adam, you couldn't tell that a raindrop had fallen. It was solid, no squishy. It was like it didn't even rain at all. So you could tell there's a lot of thought that went into that grass field and how it's built and the drainage and everything else. That was pretty cool. Even when you're watching the practice, in the moments it was pouring the most, you couldn't see water being squished around when the players were running. So that was really pretty neat.
All right. Speaking of the players, before we get into the practice itself, and there are a couple of interesting storylines. I know Josh Allen spoke. What were the initial impressions that you could get from any of them, as far as
from the players?
From the players themselves, yeah.
The only guy I talked to was Spencer Brown, and he loved it. I mean, Allen did a thing on the field with Maddie and George Wilson, who's back.
Yeah.
The senator, we used to call him because he was a great quote. He's back doing some work for the Bills. They had Allen on the field, and they were piping that through the PA system, but we didn't talk to Allen. The only guy I talked to was Spencer Brown. A few of us went over. He loved it. He loved the grass. That his comment was, I like it so much I might sleep here tonight, because it was great to be, for those guys, those big guys, being on grass is so much better.
Sure.
So I didn't get many other impressions from players. you know how that situation is. It's just chaos down there. You can't really get anything done. Thankfully, they brought Brady into the press room so we could just, get him without the noise. I mean, it's loud in there. I mean, the sound system is loud, almost to the point where, in Yankee Stadium, fans have been screaming and complaining about it's so loud in the place, all the piped in music and all the things they do. I kind of got that feeling last night at the stadium. Like, you can't even hear yourself think. It was so loud in there. So I think the players are going to love it, and they're going to really appreciate the grass. They were all wowed by it. But we've talked about this, Adam. Some of these kids have played in incredible college football stadiums. Most of the veterans have all played in these great NFL stadiums. So it's no big deal to them. It's their home, which makes it a big deal to them.
Right.
But they've all been there and done that for this.
Right. It's not like,
it's not like a high school kid
going into
right?
like whatever, a Madison Square Garden or a local
for
high school football or whatever going into them. It's just another. In fact, to a lot of the players on the Bills roster and around the league, I'm sure it's Allen maybe said it best. He's not a very sentimental person. He appreciates all the history from the old place, but it's nice to be in a new one. I think a lot of players, whether they'd say it publicly or not, are kind of like, all right, finally we got a place here that's up to the standard, because the old one, by NFL standards, and I'm a sucker. Me, I'm a child of the old Boston Garden in New England growing up. Fenway Park. I know it's your nemesis, but you can appreciate the history in that place, right? Much like you with the old Yankee Stadium. I mean, I'm partial to a lot of that. I'm a sucker for it. I get into it. I appreciate all of it. And I think these new places, inherently, they're going to lack that when they come online or whatever, and it takes time. I would say that the Patriots in Gillette, now it has its own sort of mystique because of all the success they've had there, but it takes time to build that up. But so there's the old place, and I when we go to all these other places around the league, I love doing it and seeing all that was new. But still, when I covered a home game in Orchard Park, it was like, I really appreciated all of the history from a player perspective. That place was the visitor locker room there was so far behind the times.
It was brutal.
I mean, there are high school locker rooms, and not just in Florida, in Texas, that are far nicer. So, I mean, they really needed to bring. So, whether the players would say it or not, I think they're not necessarily wowed by it, but they're more like, okay, this is up to NFL standard.
It's a new house. You're moving into a new house over there. You're leaving your old dump, like my daughter, right? My daughter, who just is moving from her old East Rochester, built in the 40s or 50s home, to a brand new place, not brand new, but very new place in Penfield. It's like, it's a whole new world. Speaking of which, as we've talked about before, going back there today, Adam, on my day off, still got more painting. You should see my wife. My wife is scrubbing the kitchen cabinets. We're going to repaint those. So, we're looking for, we would love to hire some help, but, we don't want to pay. so we're doing a lot of the work ourselves.
All right.
I just keyed you up, by the way. There you go.
You did. All right. You want to go with this now? Let's go with it. Now, wait. Okay, so, but you have hired some help, right?
There have
been some contractors.
My son-in-law has hired some help, some contractor, electrician we had to bring in, and a guy who ripped out the carpets in the basement is putting new carpets in. So yes, we did require some help.
All right, and that brings us to one of our new sponsors, ZipRecruiter. It may not seem like much, but when someone goes the extra step, it makes a positive impression. If you're hiring, great candidates can also go the extra step and tell you why they are interested in your job on ZipRecruiter as a way to stand out from others. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter has a new feature that shows you the most interested qualified candidates first, so you meet the right people faster. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds qualified candidates quickly. Candidates can tell you in their own words why they're interested in your job. So try ZipRecruiter. Meet great candidates who will go the extra step for you. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free today. ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That is ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. All right, Sal, you're plucking away there on the keyboards. This is a special live edition of Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel. A couple of comments and questions in.
Just wanted to answer that Blitz at 373, just to say that, he said you only get one chance to make a first impression. And I thought the Highmark Stadium made a very nice first impression. So, yeah, it was cool.
It seems like they have passed the test. The new uniforms are not. There's the first new uniform, and that I'm sure was part of the story last night. Quarterbacks were wearing them, right?
Quarterbacks and the kickers, punters, and Reed. I think did Reed Ferguson? I don't know. The punter and the kicker had them. So yeah, not a fan. Not a fan, Adam. I told you when they came out, I wasn't a fan. I'm a uniform snob. I don't like any alternate uniforms. Home, away, wear your colors. That's my feeling on everything. No one listens to me on this issue because they all want to make money on uniforms. But those gray uniforms that Josh Allen so lovingly, talked about the other day, they're just not a good look for me. And if you're sitting up high in the press box or for the people that are up in the upper deck, you can't see the numbers. It's this dull kind of gray. And then the blue numbers, they just don't pop. Now, look, when you're sitting at home on TV, they're fine. You can see everything perfectly fine. But if you're at the game and you're sitting upstairs, it's going to be really hard to figure out who the hell's out there. I mean, you will probably know because you're a fan, but not a good look. I don't like them. I don't like the helmet, the crazy, modern futuristic. I just don't like any of it. But that's always been my thing, Adam. You give me your opinion, but I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. Sorry, Josh. I don't agree.
I like what they represent. I like the theme behind it. Of course, these new uniforms, it all comes down to the bottom line for the team, right? It's a business play for them. How many of them can they? And I think it's telling that Allen went out of his way at the beginning of training camp to actually address that. You guys didn't ask him the question about it. He brought it up. Stop hating on the new uniform.
Exactly. It was unsolicited.
The only way I think it's going to, the majority I think have spoken on this. I feel like the only way it's going to grow on people is if they win in them.
Well, they win games.
But I think, and this is kind of inside, baseball or broadcasting, from a broadcast perspective, can you imagine like a Chris Brown trying to call that game live?
Oh, yeah.
And these press boxes are so high now; they're much further away.
They were in a great spot in the old stadium. The main media moved to the corner where we couldn't see anything, but they kept the broadcast guys, in the middle of the field, and they were much lower. That was a great view. That old press box for us was a great view, one of the best in the league. Now the broadcast booth, we're up at the very top. They're only one level below us where they broadcast the radio. So yeah, they are up there. They're going to need binoculars because it's tough. I think the network, I'm not sure where the network is. They might be a little bit lower, but yeah, Brownie and Eric Wood up there, they're going to be, they better have good spotters too, because they're a long way away now. It's tough.
All right. Thought and Style chiming in with a comment. Beautiful stadium. Hoping it starts a Camden-like revival for a new generation of stadiums. Every other proposed stadium basically looks the same. Copy of Allegiant out in Las Vegas, the Raider Stadium they're referring to. So glad Highmark is novel. I guess it's novel in the sense that it's open air, right? A lot of these new ones have roofs on them, and that's a whole separate conversation, whether this should have been in downtown Buffalo, a dome, all of that. I don't know that we necessarily need to get into that here unless a viewer or a listener wants to. Also from Thought and Style, yesterday wasn't just a practice for the team on the field. Lots of food ran out repeatedly, so I'm sure they're getting used to this, to working out the kinks. That's also a part of what's happening here, right in the preseason, and the fact that they didn't open at home, that they're opening on the road at Houston to give them a little after the 2 preseason games and the 1 more practice, some time to. Inevitably, there are going to be kinks when you go online with a new place like this.
I think this was the main thing last night. Was it is a test run. They were having a big crowd in there for the first time. It's not a game like this coming Saturday. Now will be a game, and you want things running pretty well when there's a game, because people are paying big money. So this was like the test run to work out some of the kinks. I'm sure there's still going to be kinks they have to figure out as they move forward. But like you said, they're going to have 3 more opportunities before week 1 or week 2 is the opener to get these things ironed out. So We'll see. Like up in the press box, our additional bathrooms that they somehow forgot to do are still being worked on. So that area was closed off last night. I think, the bulk of it is done, but there's still little tweaks they have to make. So yeah, people have to be patient, but it's going to be great. When they finish it, everything should be fine, and they'll figure out how much food to order. pretty sure they'll get that figured out by the time
at least the
games start.
Okay, so let's get into what happened on the field. And I guess the headline is a couple of injuries, right? That we don't know. Yeah. We don't have a hell of a lot more information. Probably won't get it till Brady talks on Monday and they fully evaluate these things. But, Conor McGovern and Ty Johnson.
Yeah, two players that are important to the Bills. One a starter, and one, Ty Johnson plays a lot. The Ty Johnson thing was a one-on-one passing drill, and Joe Andreessen was covering him. He beat him off the line, and he was kind of going past him, and he just went down. There was no contact. He just went down. I thought he slipped at first, because it was amazing. I was actually watching that, Adam. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. Guys are doing drills all over, and I happened to be watching it. He just went down, and I thought this was before the rain, and I thought, he just lost his footing or whatever. But then he stayed down, and he was grabbing at his lower leg. So we have no idea whether it's hamstring, ankle, knee, whatever. But they took him right to the locker room. A lot of times you'll go to the sideline, they'll look you over. He went right in, so that wasn't a great sign. And then a few minutes later, McGovern, actually two things happened to McGovern. He apparently banged his hand or something during 11-on-11, and he sat out for a couple plays, and he was like shaking his hand out, but then he went back in. However, I think it was Allen threw an interception, and he's just hustling, right? He had no need to be chasing the guy down in a practice, which is really unfortunate that this happened. He was chasing him down, and he pulled up. So we're anticipating it's probably a hamstring, which for an offensive lineman, that's not terrible, right? If it's a knee, ankle, that's worse. Hamstrings for an offensive lineman, you give them some time off. They don't have to be explosive, right? Running down the field. So he should be okay. But it was, it sucked that it happened on something like that. So, they had to go with Lloyd Cushenberry, and then Cedric Van Pran Granger kind of shared the first team reps. This is why you sign veterans, right? Cushenberry's played a lot of games in the NFL. Van Pran Granger really has done nothing. He started the two end of season meaningless games, but otherwise he hasn't played at all for the Bills. So we'll see how that shakes out. I mean, if McGovern's going to miss time, it's nice to have a guy like Cushenberry. I haven't really noticed him at all in practice. I'm not really looking too closely, but it'd be nice that if McGovern's down, they've got a veteran guy to step in.
Yeah, that is. And, thankfully, things are so established on the line at this point with a guy like McGovern. Was so critical to bring him back that, if there's a place they can afford, right, for someone to miss some time or whatever, that would be one of them where, he takes some time off, that thing heals up or whatever, he gets back in there. There's good continuity. Allen's comfortable with him. The whole right side of that line is in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's fine for now. It's fine for now that he misses time. He doesn't need to play preseason games.
That's what I mean.
They need him. I don't think the Bills want to go into the season with a new left guard, whether it's Anderson or Corbett, and then a new center. They need to get McGovern back because Brady said this last night. He said the second most important position on the offense is center. Everyone talks about left tackle, right? It's always those guys need to get paid because they're protecting the blind side. I've always pushed back on that. To me, the most important offensive lineman is the center. He's in direct contact with the quarterback. He's right in the middle of the field. He's the one who makes the line call adjustments. I think center is critical, and Cushenberry's new to the team. So they don't want to lose Conor McGovern for too long here.
Look, with the exception of the trade for DJ Moore, right? Most significant move of the offseason was being able to bring McGovern back. We agreed entirely on that. I'm just saying at this point, right, ahead of the preseason, he's going to miss a couple of preseason games or whatever. They can afford that. If he's healthy, they can hit the ground running at that position.
And they can get reps for these other guys. They can get these reps in, which is that's a good thing. You're right about that. But let's hope it's not going to linger. Let's hope it's just a hamstring tweak and he gets back in there. Like, as I said, it's better than ankle or knee because that could be problematic. Hamstring for an offensive lineman, yeah, it sucks. It's painful, but they can survive that.
So let's talk about the star of the show. Inevitably, is number 17, right? Regardless of which uniform he's wearing. Couple of terrific plays and a couple of interceptions. He wasn't the most consistent Josh Allen we've seen, obviously.
Yeah.
And look, this is practice, right? You have to understand that and look at it through that lens. But what did you see from Allen in the offense?
Yeah, I mean, the interception, I think there was 4 that he threw. 3 I remember specifically. He threw a ball to Josh Palmer. It wasn't a great throw. Went off his hands and just kind of floated right to Damar Hamlin. So what are you going to do? Another one was a one-on-one Kincaid against Bishop. He's just throwing the ball there to make, help the guy make a play. And Bishop made a real nice play and picked it off. And then the one that was bad, he was D. Alford. It looked like the defense was actually kind of confused, but Allen didn't make a good read, and he didn't really see D. Alford. He threw the ball right to him. It was if that was in a game, you would just be like banging your head, like, what did he do there? Because it was a terrible throw. The other one, I kind of forget what it was, but I think there was 4. So look, like you said, it's practice. They're still working the kinks out. There were some highlight plays too. I mean, they went into a 2-minute drill. He threw a beautiful ball to DJ Moore, who I'm pretty sure it was Benford in coverage, or he was the closest guy when Moore caught the ball. I don't know if it was zone or what, but that was a nice play. And then they finished that with a beautiful throw to Khalil Shakir over the middle for the touchdown. So there were some moments. There's always moments with Josh Allen where he's going to look great. The interceptions, I'm not too worried about it right now. Again, just working some things out. It's not a concern. You know how I am, Adam. People who are charting plays in practice just kind of drive me nuts. It's all you can't be charting plays in practice and making judgments. He threw a couple bad balls in the game. He's probably not throwing those balls.
Let's talk about receiver. Because I think what's going on further down the depth chart is sort of interesting, and it makes sense at this point to at least update that situation. You mentioned Palmer earlier, and Keon Coleman, right, who has been kind of true to form. I guess it's fair to say. You've actually seen more of him than I have, but the inconsistency with him continues. Right.
Yeah. I didn't notice him last night. He really wasn't noticeable. Palmer made a couple catches, and the one that went through that wasn't even Palmer's fault that it went through his hands. It was a bad throw. So I noticed him a little bit. Look, DJ Moore has been exactly who you hope he was going to be. He looks like a number 1 receiver. So and the connection with those two, it seems to be really building nicely. I mean, they've made some nice plays together in practice. So hopefully that's going to translate to the season. They've got a decision to make. We were talking about it in the press box as they were doing the punting drill. They had Mecole Hardman was back there catching. He actually caught the majority of it, and then they put Ray Davis back there. But we're like, can you really reserve a spot on the team for Mecole Hardman to be a punt returner, and then he'd be the 6th receiver? I don't see it. I really don't see that, because you're going to have Moore, Shakir, Palmer, probably your top 3, and Keon Coleman battling, right? Skylar Bell's making the team. He's a rookie 4th-round pick. And then you got Trent Sherfield, who right now is probably the Tyrell Shavers replacement, a guy who can block in the run game and play special teams. There's 6. So Mecole Hardman, there's no place for Mecole Hardman. So they've got some really tough decisions. Now, what I think would be the best thing possible, Adam, is you move on from Hardman, put him on the practice squad. You keep the 6 that I just mentioned. If Ray Davis can lock down the punt return duty, he's already the kickoff returner. Jeff Rodgers has already told us, he's going to be out there for the first game. He's an all-pro. He just won all-pro recognition. If he can catch punts, that would be huge for the Bills. That's going to save them a roster spot somewhere else if he can do both of those jobs plus be a running back. So it was good to see him deep. And I've said this before, Adam, punt return in the NFL has become less and less impactful because these punters are so good. Their hang times are great. They're really good at directional kicking. It's hard to get a good punt return these days. The most important thing is just catch the ball or make a decision not to catch it, right? Let it go in the end zone. That really is the primary skill. Whatever you get on a punt return these days is almost like gravy. I mean, let alone if you score a touchdown, but if you just get a little bit of a return, I think you're living in a good world there. Kickoff is the key because now the ball's in play with the kickoff return. You need a good kickoff returner. That for many years that wasn't the case. They had taken the kickoff out of play here. So you need a good guy on kickoff, not so much on punt return. Just get a guy who's reliable. And if Ray Davis can do it, man, that'd be great for the Bills.
Any before we wrap this up here, any impression on what's going on defensively? Anything else that stood out to you last night relative to what we had talked about from the 7 practice stretch over at Fisher?
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing. I mean, again, they're not full contact tackling on the ground, so we're not going to know until the game starts, preseason games. But I like the multiple looks that Leonard is using. We've seen a lot of different combinations, really in all 3 levels, which has been good. I think they're giving Josh Allen a little bit of fit because he is seeing different looks constantly, which is good for him, good for the offensive guys. I like it. Again, there's a lot of things that have to be figured out, though, and practice. You know how I feel about practice. They're not going full speed. I need to see preseason games when guys are, they're actually playing football. I think we'll get a much better read on what this defense is going to be. But my early impression is I like what I see.
All right. So the Bills experienced, a lot of a historic night, beautiful new stadium, some adversity as well in the form of injuries and the weather with that downpour that went on. You also experienced a little bit of adversity after practice. Trying to get out of there. Take us through that a little bit.
Oh, do I have to? Do I have to relive? Left the stadium, got to my car in the parking lot at about 10:45 at night, and it was dead. I'm looking, the key fob wouldn't work. I somehow got it unlocked. I forget what I even did. Car was completely dead. Ended up, I ended up, my brother-in-law was going to come from Clarence to bring me a battery for the key fob. In the meantime, a couple of the media guys came out and one of them had jumper cables and I have a hybrid. So I wasn't quite sure how the whole battery situation worked, but there is an actual battery in the car. And we were looking at YouTube videos. It's like 91% humidity out there. Gross night. We're all sweating, looking at videos, how to jump this car because it's confusing. And thankfully, we got it started just as my brother-in-law was pulling in with my key fob battery. He was not thrilled that he showed up, and I ended up not needing him. But, got home way later than I initially thought I would get home. So that was not a good end to the night.
Mike Adesso, your brother-in-law.
Yes, my brother-in-law, who was your physical therapist for a while. Great guy. He was and the funny thing was him and my sister were at the game. They have season tickets. He had just gotten all the way home, and here comes his brother-in-law in distress calling him because I had no way to get into my car. I did ultimately get in, but it was bad. So not a great first experience at the end of the night.
He rehabbed my knee in 2009 ACL, which I slipped and tore at the original winter.
By the way, he's one of the Sabres trainers.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say more importantly and more relevant to the people listening to this is fact he's a trainer for the Buffalo Sabres. So he's highly qualified, more qualified at that than probably jumping a hybrid. But
but he's a car guy too, so I knew he'd be fine. But it was just funny.
There is another example of going the extra mile, right? And that is why ZipRecruiter wants you to meet great candidates who will go the extra mile, an extra step for your job. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. That is ziprecruiter.com/audio. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this show, Believe in Bills, and others on the Believe network of podcasts. Buffalo Bills remain second to the LA Rams in terms of Super Bowl odds. So great expectations continue as the preseason rolls on now. First of the preseason games still to come. New stadium officially online for the Bills. And we have now approached 35 minutes here on the show. We appreciate you all tuning in. Special edition And Sal, tell us what you've got coming up this week now as we get back to work in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle.
Yeah, they're back to practice, still doing it early in the morning. And they're going to go Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Brady told us. And then obviously they've got the game on Saturday. So I'll be over there one or two of those days, just doing what we do in training camp, Adam, just watching and seeing what we can write about. Nothing planned yet. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants. So I'll get over there and figure out what I want to do, and then I'll do it. So,
well, the biggest thing Monday, injury updates, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Neither of those.
We hope, because I'm not sure Brady will talk. He doesn't talk every day. So he just talked yesterday. So we're hoping he talks, because there will be some news that we need to find out. So we'll see.
All right. We appreciate it, Sal. Thanks as always. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Special edition Believe in Bills presented by FanDuel Live, with reaction to the open practice and the first event in the new Highmark Stadium. For Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live of Buffalo. Thanks for being with us here live on YouTube. Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.